If I asked you to talk about what a container in Kubernetes is, what would you tell me?
Of course, a container is a box where you can carry your food around. And wherever you go, you can have your favorite snack. Hello guys and girls, Raj here, back with another video. I am an enterprise solutions architect working at AWS. So I do a decent number of interviews. Also in my professional life, I have been through many rounds of interviews. So in this video, I'm going to share 5 tips that I personally follow to prepare for my upcoming interviews. Tip number 1, research Glassdoor for the questions, for the positions you are interviewing for. So it won't be exact match, you are not gonna get the exact question in the interview, but you will get an idea like what kind of questions you can expect. So personally what I do is I create the list of questions. I gather all the questions from Glassdoor for the position, put them in Excel spreadsheet, dedupe them, and then I also think about other follow-up questions that can come from that set of questions. Let's say one of the sample question is, tell me the differences between SQL and NoSQL databases. So I also try to think about, what could be the use cases of some SQL and NoSQL databases? What are the cases where you should not use NoSQL databases? What are some of the very popular SQL and NoSQL databases, pros, cons, etc. Also on that note, it is very important to practice the questions. Like, I don't know if you want to practice in front of a mirror, you can do that. Or if you want to mentally practice the whole question answer thing, right? Because there will be questions that you will face that you have no idea, that you have to think. You'll probably slow to answer, you'll probably stop and start. But for the questions that you do know and you prepared for, there is no excuse. You have to kill it, right? So make sure your delivery is flawless for the questions that you do know the answer for. Tip number 2, give yourself time to prepare for the interviews. Don't be like, oh man, I hate my job. I want to switch jobs as soon as possible and let me go start applying to my dream companies right now. So don't do that, right? Because you have to prepare all the questions. If you are going for coding interviews, you have to make sure you brush up your algorithm skills. You have to do those coding challenges, practice them, right? For other kind of positions, you have to make sure you study up the company's leadership principles, line up your experience to those principles, right? So personally, I prepared for 3 months before hitting that apply button in Amazon. So you adjust accordingly. So it's not about how much you already know, how much stuff you are doing at your current job. Like you have to practice the questions and the answers, you have to practice the delivery, you have to mentally get prepared because some of these interviews in some of these tech companies are intense, right? You will have like I personally had 6 rounds of interview in one day, right? And that's not the only interviews. So you have to be mentally prepared, you have to build up that endurance, right? Before you go for the big day. Tip number 3, research your interviewers. So most of the times the recruiter will send you the name of the interviewers a couple days before the actual interview. So look them up in LinkedIn. So I'm going to use an example of my very good friend and colleague, Simon. Okay, we are at Simon's LinkedIn profile. So you can see that he focuses on relational database, Unix, high availability, replication, monitoring, data protection, disaster recovery. So we're going to dive deep a little bit. We're going to scroll down through his past experiences. Okay, so he was vice president, management of global consulting team across 3 regions covering Oracle Enterprise Architecture, database, data migration, middleware, business intelligence. Okay, subject matter technical expert on Oracle Exadata, Golden Gate, Oracle. And then he was also head of database services, oversight and responsibility for all database projects in US and UK, and also he was Oracle DBA architect. So before that, he was at O2 as Oracle DBA, senior Oracle, and then high availability specialist. And then if you scroll down, skills and endorsements, Oracle 55, Solaris, Oracle RAC. Databases 35. So from Simon's profile, you could tell that he knows a thing or two about databases, right? So he has a lot of good experience in it. So two things to keep in mind. If Simon is interviewing you, make sure that you brush up on your database knowledge, number one. Number two, most importantly, do not bullshit Simon on the database questions, right? Because he could easily spot you if you are just saying something that you don't know on the database areas. Tip number 4, remember that interview is not a test. Like good interviewers are saying that how do you think and how do you answer, how do you logically approach a problem. So actually, all the people that I have interviewed and hired, none of them answered 100% of the questions, right? So sometimes I will do whiteboarding in interview and the candidate might not be able to do the full solution, but I will be impressed by their way of thinking, how they navigate the problem. And that's better than you over-exaggerating or you lying, right? So I see this sometimes, like any good interviewer will ask the candidate, hey, how do you rate yourself in this area, or tell me like your area of depth or area of expertise. So sometimes I'll ask the candidate, hey, how do you rate yourself in DevOps in 1 to 10? The candidate will be like, oh, 9 or something, okay? And then I'll be like, okay, how much do you rate yourself in databases? And then the candidate will go like 9 or 10 or something, right? So anything I ask, they will give themselves super high score. See, the thing is, you won't be hired based on what score you give yourself. Like, I am only asking that to you so that I know what area I can ask you, right? I'm not gonna ask on some area where you say that you haven't worked or you don't have area of depth knowledge on, right? I'll ask basic questions, but not gonna go deep. But if you say, like, you are deep on some area, don't expect me to go, oh, 9 out of 10, you are hired, right? So expect me, or expect from any good interviewer, that they're going to dive deep and they're going to ask you questions to make sure that you actually know the stuff you're talking about.
So Mr. Saha, your resume says you have 20 years of AWS experience, but AWS has only been around for 14 years.
I have 20 solid years of AWS experience, man.
I see. How strong would you say you are in networking?
Networking, I am an expert in networking.
An expert. Okay, and how about security?
Security, I am the best there is in security. I am an expert in security as well.
I see. And if I asked you to rate yourself in Kubernetes on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you score?
Kubernetes. My skill in Kubernetes cannot be expressed in 1 to 10. Can I rate myself in 1 to 100?
Sure.
I am 100 out of 100 in Kubernetes. I am super expert in Kubernetes.
A super expert. And if I asked you to talk about what a container in Kubernetes is, what would you tell me?
Of course, a container is a box where you can carry your food around. And wherever you go, you can have your favorite snack. So moral of the story, know your area of depth, right? Make sure you are truthful and honest about it when the interviewer asks you. If you guys and girls are liking this video, please like and subscribe. Also, we are hiring at Amazon. You can bring your own dog. Not sure about this big girl though. Also, I'm trying this Instagram thing. Apparently that's what's in right now. But I'm more of a Facebook generation, so I only have 12 followers. So yeah, give it a follow if you'd like. The ID is Raj_does_cloud. I'll post some of the tips and tricks, some of the behind the scenes, how I make my videos, like upcoming videos and contents, etc. Tip number 5, study company's core values. If you can mention part of the company's core values when you are answering the questions, that actually wins hearts of the interviewer. It shows that you studied up about the company and went through the credo of the company. So if you are going to interview for Amazon, make sure you study the leadership principles. If you're going to Facebook, make sure you study the Facebook's core values. Tesla, has its leadership principles. So every company has these sets of principles that the company go by, right? So make sure you study those and incorporate those in your answers. So I did great. When do I start this job?
Recruiter will reach out to you and discuss the interview.
Huh, recruiters. Can I get your cell number so I can call you directly?
Mr. Saha, I think we're done here, but have a great day and thanks for coming in.
Alright guys and girls, those are the 5 tips that I personally follow to prepare for my interviews. I'll see you guys and girls in the next video.